Alright, so welcome to the SmashCast. My apologies if this is absolute crap. We have no idea what we're doing, but we figured we'd give this a whirl. So the idea is we're going to try and put up a weekly podcast of us talking about things that matter or don't matter to us or other people. The main thing is we want to just have interesting conversations, maybe talk about campus politics, current events, controversial things, or just random shit. It really doesn't matter. Topic tonight is we're going to be talking about the student service fee for Florida Tech. Also, with the SmashCast, we're broadcasting us live playing Smash Brothers to keep this a little bit more entertaining for y'all if you're not doing anything while listening. So, in the living room right now, we have myself. My name's Bobby. We've also got my boy Billy.
Hey.
We got David.
What's going on?
Hunter.
Hello.
And my boy George.
What up?
And also Katie's here.
Hey. Guest star.
Guest star Katie.
Yeah. Guest star in the first episode. It must feel special.
Alright, so a little bit about us, I guess, just to kind of get an understanding of our biases before we talk about anything today. All of us here play for the Ultimate Frisbee Club. I'm the president. We've got Billy's a captain, David's a captain to be, Hunter's a vice president to be, and George is our treasurer. So that's probably the most universal bias this group has. David's the son of a preacher, so he's a little biased there. We'll see how that affects things. And Billy's a Republican, so. Not there's anything wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong.
But that's for a different podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so, the big issue, I would say, less of an issue, but talking point about campus politics right now, is this student services fee. The treasurer of the SGA did her digging, and we got to the bottom of where the student services fee has actually been going. And now that we have that information, the SGA is reaching out to campus, and they have a poll on OrgSync to get an idea of what students' opinions are as to where this money should go. So I want to talk to everybody here about what the breakdown is, where it lies, and where we kind of feel things should be going in the future. So
sounds like a plan.
Starting out, the student services fee is actually currently in the past there was a separate international fee as well as the student services fee. The international fee was only being paid by international students. Those two things got aggregated together in 2014. So now that's just one fee that all students are paying. It's $125, and it gets divvied up in a couple of ways. So it gets split up into three major categories. That's alumni affairs, which is 16% of the fee, international student services, which is 10% of the fee, and then the Office of Student Life, which is 68% of the fee. And that's going to be the primary focus of the stuff that we talk about. So, let's go ahead and start with the smallest chunk, which is international student services, guys. So, they receive $102,000 every year to their total budget, which is $315,000. I'm not actually sure where that total budget number comes from, because so apparently student service fee is a fraction of that, and they're pulling money from somewhere else, but the information's not here as to where that actually is, so I'm not really sure.
Each student has a fee from their tuition they pay, correct? That goes toward this student services fee.
And like if you go on pause, like you'll see what your line item for the tuition you're paying, and then your student services fee, and then anything else associated with that. So things that International Student Services does are the International Festival, which happens every spring. One of the bigger and better events on our campus. I've been a tour guide for 4 years, and I always talk about how awesome it is, even though I've never been. We're always in a tournament.
It's really fun.
But I hear it's pretty fantastic. There are coffee hours, which are another thing I've heard that we do. They're like
I see signs for it on campus, but I've never looked into it.
I feel like they're a good thing that the campus is doing. I don't know how much people are attending them, but that can be chalked up to just generalized apathy, which is kind of running rampant in our campus. Although I'd say less so in more recent years. So, do we think this makes sense that part of our fees going there? I mean, me personally, for starting with my opinion, I don't really have an issue with this because the International Festival is pulling most of that, is what it seems like to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a cool event for campus.
It's a huge community event.
Especially with one of our major draws of our campus being that we're international. Like that's the kind of thing that pulls people here, that gets us recognized. Yeah. So having events like that celebrate that, I think are pretty good for campus in general.
Yep. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I have no problem with it. It's FIT. That's our thing. International students are pretty important to campus and to culture. So that's my opinion. I don't know.
The only thing I would say is I want to see like that coffee thing, how well attended that is. But other than that, International Festival, I went last year. It was really cool. It was a good time.
All right, so the next big chunk is going to alumni affairs. Like I said, that's 16%.
What does that entail? Alumni affairs?
Yeah, I'm gonna break that down. So it's $167,000. $108,000 of that, which is 65%, goes towards homecoming. So there's two different line items for homecoming. One gets pulled out of the chunk that goes to the Office of Student Life, and the other goes to the Alumni Affairs. So Alumni Affairs takes care of the fest at downtown Melbourne and hiring the artist, whereas the chunk that goes to Office of Student Life handles like the on-campus events, like the talent show.
Yeah.
So it's $108,000 is essentially hiring our homecoming artists, which is a huge point for people on campus that it's we never get anybody that people know, which I think is fair, but we still get some good people sometimes. I mean, I had no idea who the Vertellis were, but now Chelsea Dagger is one of my favorite songs. What are you guys' thoughts? I mean, I can just talk the entire time.
No.
I like the Fratellis and Mountain Kim. I like them both.
Mountain Kim was awesome.
Yeah, they got some good people, like with the amount of money they're dealing with.
Yeah, considering back to we're a small school that doesn't deal with a lot of money. Like my friend who goes to school up north, his school gets like 2 Chainz and like actual big name artists, but like we find pretty good low key artists.
Yeah. The 3 that I've been to was Taking Back Sunday, Matt and Kim, and the Fratellis, and all 3 of those shows were awesome. But again, with all 3 of those shows, I had no idea who the artist was until a week before seeing them, and I started listening to their music on Spotify and fell in love, which not everybody's necessarily going to be willing to do. So I think it would be cool if we got bigger names.
For sure.
And I think as we start looking at this money's going, I think there's places where more kind of money could be going towards homecoming when it gets pulled from some things that
important.
I don't think the money should be going to.
I'd like to give a shout out to the email I got where it was like you can email the president for SGA and give them suggestions of who they should hire for next year for the.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah, that was.
I sent my feedback. I'm seeing a group next week and I want to see them come for homecoming.
Oh, nice. I emailed Becca, I think yesterday, with somebody who I thought, and she's like, "Oh, I actually already sent my things in. You're kind of late." Because I was gonna ask for Daretify.
Daretify, dude, I sent in the Dirty Heads.
Oh, that would be a little pricey.
Are they that pricey though? I don't know.
I would
They played
think
at the
so.
Seafood Fest.
All right.
It was like $20 a ticket.
All right. Okay. So from the guy who's out of the room, hey Tom, have you ever heard of the Dirty Heads?
Yeah.
They're too expensive.
I've never.
We spent $20 on a ticket to their show at the Seafood Fest. That's not a lot.
But
fine.
that lobster roll was bullshit. That thing was gross. It was like
We're not talking about the food. We're talking about the band.
Yeah, I'm still pissed off about it.
All right.
But that's for a different.
I mean, I have to be
podcast.
honest, haven't been to a homecoming event yet.
Agreed.
So,
I have not.
I don't know if that's
So
because
do you think
I don't know who is.
Do you think
playing?
that boils down to just lack of hype about what's going on? Or
Yes,
just, definitely. Or are you guys just not going to care?
If we got a name that would be like somewhat more hype, like like you said, the Fratellis are really good, but like when you say, oh, we got these guys, and everyone's just like, what?
Wait, who are those? Yeah, who are those guys?
It took until you went down and like forcibly went down there, or if you did your research before.
How many of us actually listen to like WFIT?
I listen to the radio.
If I'm in my car,
Because like
I'll
it would be
listen to
interesting if
Yeah,
WFIT was
it's
like
like-
blasting the Fratellis like.
They
Oh,
did.
yeah.
They
Did
did.
they? Oh,
did.
interesting.
The week leading up to that.
So yeah,
they did a whole day of just their music.
Wow.
What's their frequency?
89.5.
They're 89.5.
As a tour guide, I had to know that.
I tried.
Same.
I actually listen to them in my car.
I go like at 1 a.m. They play smooth jazz.
Cool.
and I
Yeah.
just chill
So
outside.
yeah, my idea that's already happened, which is
Yeah, they
which is
play-
cool. I think
They
we're
get
just
WFIT involved. Yeah.
not a lot of people listen to
I
it.
feel like the only reason why I would ever listen to WFIT is for the NPR, and I don't listen to WFIT at all.
Yeah, I listen to the NPR.
Yeah, no, it was like the day before the concert. They blasted it outside WFIT, and I heard the da 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 da. I'm like, oh, I knew this song because like growing up, like I actually I remember hearing the song as like younger.
Huh.
So I was like, I looked up, I pulled out my Shazam and it said, oh yeah, Fratellis. I'm like, oh shit, they're performing this. But like,
Yeah. I mean, I saw the banner that they put up. I think that's the best.
yeah,
The best form of
That's-
advertisement that they do is the banner in front of the sub.
Yeah,
But
but I was like,
even
man,
then it's
when
just
they
a
don't-
name that
this
no
guy's
one
looking
knows.
really dumb in the fedora
Yeah.
right now.
yeah, if you can't put a face to the music, then I mean, I don't know.
Oh, if this is getting
I guess-
broadcasted to campus, can I make fun of fedoras?
Yes.
Is that gonna hurt
Yeah.
some people's feelings?
No. I mean 2%.
Yeah,
I know, it's a reality check.
Fair.
Honestly, I feel like most of us in general just agree that the alumni affairs is doing a decent job at.
And they do a ton of fundraising
Yeah,
throughout
actually-
the year too,
Yeah,
like the day
Yeah.
of giving.
I'm
and
not
everything, so-
upset with the fact that they're getting money for stuff like that.
So they get another 57,000 out of this, which goes towards grad bash. I went to grad bash when I graduated. It was fine.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's
I don't.
outdoor.
I'm not entirely sure how it
I don't know how
clocks
it's
up to
worth it.
57
You
grand.
get your own
but,
nice
like-
Because they
glass
have
and everything,
fucking
right?
free beer. And people
Say,
take
for
advantage
those-
of
No,
that.
that's true.
For
Yeah.
for those who haven't gone to grad bash,
It is. They get a pavilion out in Crawford, and there's a lot of free food, and there's free beer, and like free glasses and stuff. It's just, it's a celebration for students that are graduating,
And I think that's
or
fine. I
like
don't know why
other
it costs
students who walk by,
57.
because they don't check to see that you're graduating. really.
Nice.
Like you can just
Really?
get free food.
nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, dude, it's usually pretty good.
I don't know why it
Um,
costs 57,000
It's just
though.
PG.
That's
It's just
expensive
from the
for.
sub though, the
They-
food. So it's not like it
That
shouldn't be
happens-
that expensive, the food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grad bash happens once or twice a year. Because
It-
there's fall and spring.
I think it is twice a year actually.
Yeah, it is.
That might
because
be
there
why
was
it's
one
not
last
expensive.
semester,
It's every
yeah.
semester, so
So-
that makes sense then. Why? I can understand how it gets up to that then.
So like 28,500 per semester.
Yeah.
I know it probably doesn't matter, but what is the difference between people graduating after fall and after spring? Is it pretty even?
There's a lot more in spring than in fall. I'm not sure what the breakdown is though.
way.
Well, I
Who would have
mean-
ever thought that?
The fall is more for people who had to stay an extra semester or something.
Or,
Yeah.
Or they just-
Or
Yeah.
graduate early, yeah. And then
True.
spring's just if you were on track
Yeah.
kind of thing.
All right, and then they've got another line item which is $1,300 for gifts to students. I don't think there's an explanation anywhere. It's like
I wonder if that goes towards the awards for like outstanding students or something like that.
I don't think that's alumni. I'm not sure where that's going, but like 1,300 isn't really
That's
worth
not a
arguing
lot.
about right now. That's
That's
chump
cash.
change compared to the total
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah.
So I kind of just want to gloss over that.
Alright.
All right, so let's break into the meat and potatoes of this whole thing, which is office student life, which is taking, like I said before, 68% of the student services fee, and the budget totals $681,000, which is a fair amount of money, but it gets split amongst a whole lot of things. So we'll I guess we'll talk about them in order of what's getting spent the most, what is taking the most amount of the money down to the least. The biggest thing, which makes sense, is the Student Activities Funding Committee. That is the funding that clubs on campus can request from to help them through events or go to conferences or tournaments in the case of our club sports.
Mhm.
This is currently at 39.71% of the Office of Student Life's portion of the student services fee, and it's $270,000. Last year, this fee ran out before the end of the year. Odds are it's going to run out before the end of this year. So this to me seems like a no-brainer as an area where we need more money going in.
So does that mean raising the student fee? Because they're already suggesting doing that with the green fee.
See,
Or
what's
it might
interesting
come
is
something else.
there's a lot of misinformation
Like
about
$50
the green fund. That bill passing isn't in agreement that the students want their fee raised, and it's not an agreement that they want that $25 of the fee partitioned out of something specifically. It was purely a vote to say that students want to pay $25 into this fee. The decision as to if the fee will be raised or if money will be taken out of other things and put into the green fund gets ultimately made by the board of trustees based upon recommendations that are coming from the current survey we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
So I hope that clears things up for people. So
But do you think?
there's no locked in that the fee is raising, and there's no locked in
Yeah.
that like it's not necessarily getting taken all from SAFC funds. Although if people don't fill out this survey, or if people do fill out this survey and they put SAFC funding as like their lowest priority, maybe it will. But I think that's ridiculous. I've been saying since my freshman year that I think club life is the backbone of our campus community. I think the great number of individual clubs that span diverse areas of interest are what allows students to find their home and their particular group of friends that are going to make their time in college so special.
I mean, not to shit on our sports teams, but the turnouts for the lacrosse, all those games aren't what you're going to be seeing as percentages of like a state school.
No.
As terms of support toward our school sports.
No, I would make the argument with that when I think of school spirit here, I think of more like the things that students are doing for fun in the clubs that they're associated with.
Yeah.
Not getting behind our athletics.
So where do you think? So you're saying probably going to run out of money this year. So do we need to draw money from somewhere else, or do we need to just raise the fee for students?
I think both. Let me actually
pay what, $125 a year?
Yeah, we pay $125 a year, which I mean, if we raise that $25, that's an immense.
And if it goes purely to SAFC or
That's an extra 20%.
Yeah, it's an extra 20%. That would fix the problem with that budget being a little bit low, in my opinion, right off the bat. And I feel like $25 extra is a drop in the hat when compared to what we're paying for tuition. And also,
you're not wrong.
Let me quick Google what an average student service fee is for college students, because I think I heard last year that UCF spends $150, and like so if UCF's and this might be the wrong number, but if UCF is spending $150 and their campus population is 10 times what ours is, they have insane amounts of money to do whatever they want with. So like how could we ever compete from that with funding of that magnitude? Average. What do you guys? I mean, would you guys be opposed to the fee being raised?
If I know it's going to the right place, I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, and I feel like I in general was opposed to that green fund fee just because I felt like it was something that school messed up on that now the students have to fix. But this isn't really the school messing up, it's just the school needs more money.
The green fund actually, that was a student initiative. That wasn't faculty and administration saying like, hey, this is a thing that we want. Please do this, students. That came from a group of students actually.
Yeah, but I think the students initiated it because they saw the lack of anything on the school's end of it. You know what I mean? Like the school wasn't doing anything green related.
I was given the impression that they were gonna use that some of the money collected to help cover fines that had accrued from, especially stuff in the chem labs where like students weren't using their like lab goggles, and then the EPA fined them for that. I don't know if that's necessarily an informed opinion, but
I had heard about that, and I think our campus has its own like green initiatives from the faculty side of things. One of the things that concerned me about the Green Fund was that there was the opportunity, like a certain amount of it was going to be partitioned towards faculty projects. I wasn't a fan of that. I only want student money to go towards student projects. Oh, another thing, when kind of clearing up biases, I guess, just so like I'm out front about this, I'm the Chief Justice of the SGA.
Good call with that one.
Yeah, so just I don't want anybody to call me out if I say something and it seems like it's one way or another. So like I'm generally knowledgeable about most things going on with the student government. Not as much as our senators or our e-board.
But more than the common
But
student.
much more than the average student. So in the future, let's just have, if I want something looked up, I'm going to pass that on to somebody else because I can't focus on leading the conversation and looking up an average student services fee.
Yeah.
So George, can you look that up? And then we'll talk about that if you can find me an interesting number. So let's go to the next line item. This is an interesting one. So Big Six budgets are $105,000. It's 15.5% of the budget. For those of you that don't know what the Big Six are, there's 6 organizations on campus, 6 clubs, that don't have to request funding from SAFC. They have their own fixed operating budget with which they can do whatever they want.
From the student,
and it's pulled from the Office of Student Life.
Okay.
15% of the Office of Student Life's 68% of the student service fee goes to Big Six budgets.
Okay.
Can you define the Big Six?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Big Six, in order of their budget size, is CAB at around $40,000. CAB is our Campus Activities Board. Their entire purpose is to throw open campus events for students.
Which is
That makes sense to me. I don't have an issue with CAB having a big budget. That's all going right back into student events. If there's an argument that CAB isn't throwing the best events or that they're wasteful potentially with their money, that's a different story. I don't feel that way, but I think it's completely normal for that kind of funding to be going their way. The next one down is these aren't organized in order of most, so I'm gonna have to fucking watch this. All right, so the next one is SGA at $23,000. The SGA's operating budget is spent, from my understanding, a big chunk of it goes towards sending executive members to conference. As somebody who's been to that conference multiple times, I think that value's immense. It gets our executive members in a frame of mind to lead the student government optimally, and I think we'd have a legitimately less productive student government if we weren't going to that conference. So I think that's huge. And then the other thing that they spend their money on is like freebies to like advertise. Like they buy like stress balls and sticky notes. And there could be other things as well. I don't have the SGA budget pulled up, and that's not something I'm super knowledgeable about. But I've never felt like the student government is frivolously spending that budget. So I don't really have any issues there either. And when I just say I don't have any issues, you guys can feel free to jump in and tell me that I'm fucking wrong.
I mean, it's hard to see what happens behind like closed doors per se, but I mean, it's not like we're seeing them buying big ticket items for events that they do or for their own for like their student government.
One thing that
officers.
they did buy in the past that I think was more or less a waste of money are, have you guys seen the charging station in the sub?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's
They
one in
have
the sub
in
and there's one in PDH. And like it's cool because there's the SGA logo and it's good advertising, but I've never seen people use them for
I
charging.
have
Someone's-
seen people in PDH.
Yeah?
Someone stole the iPhone charging cable.
Oh, really?
Do you know how much those cost?
I don't remember. I just know they were really expensive.
Really?
Bobby, what's the update on fees?
Yeah.
So UCF only pays $11.64 but to the 65-ish thousand population, that like
Interesting. So the number I heard was completely wrong. No one ever told me that.
So yeah, according to their website, it says $11.64. So if you multiply it by their population, they get $758,550 just from student service /
Interesting.
activities.
It's not that much more than ours.
And then, well, yeah. So I divided it by our population. That total by our population, about 5,000. And that gets us about $151 for student service fee. So raising it to $150 would
arguably get us a similar
amount.
service fee experience to
Wow.
UCF.
Yes, and they probably operate on a lot more clubs and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if they do a lot more fundraising for each of their clubs.
It also depends on potentially where
That's just
their
policy
money's
difference,
going.
yeah.
If it's getting divvied up in these different ways than ours, or if it's mostly going into a pool to be pulled from by.
It just says student activity fees, $11.41.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently, our fee actually is kind of pricey by comparison, at least to UCF.
It has to, because if we want to actually have money,
We want to be
we have such a small population.
on a similar, like our club sports want to be similar level as.
Well, do we have the
School,
same number
yeah.
of clubs as UCF?
I can
would you
check
say?
that out.
Oh wait, yeah.
I can
That's
check
also
that out.
I don't know.
Because if we have the same number of
I
clubs,
don't
they
know.
just might have more people.
I don't
in
know
their
how many
clubs.
on-campus orgs they have.
I would assume that they would have more just because of more people creating more clubs.
Yeah, but there's also like the effect of like there's only so many interesting things to base clubs on.
Right.
Yeah.
Like once you get over 100, like how many different niches can really open up? I mean, obviously an infinite number technically, but
Apparently they say more than 200. Oh, it's degree programs. Never mind. They just say hundreds of social clubs and organizations.
so plural hundreds. That's admission speak for we have 201, and we can now say hundreds.
Yeah, but still, that's a good amount. We only have 120, I believe, on our campus.
Yeah, and it fluctuates.
And it fluctuates. Some don't even ask for funding. You know, you can, let's say, maybe like, I don't even know how many clubs ask for
I don't
funding
know.
from our school.
Um,
Does that get released? How many clubs ask for funding?
It's not released right now.
No. Okay.
I'm on their organizations like outlet page, and it's showing 1 to 10 of 647. So I don't know how many of those are clubs and how many of those are. Oh, but there's like Greek life is involved in this too. So it's like all their extra.
But Greek life does get
But
part of the funding
Greek life
for-
counts as our in our club count. I think when we say that we're over 100.
Yeah, because they
I'm pretty sure it
get
does.
funding just like, or they're
That's
part
one
of the
main-
SAFC
that's one
funding.
of the budgets, isn't it?
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
All
they
right.
have like 70 clubs that just start with the letter A.
So the next Big Six organization is the Crimson. They get 22,000, which is mostly just goes towards printing their paper because newspapers.
But I know they also go on
Cheap to
conferences.
print.
I had a friend who was part of it,
And I don't have an issue with
Name names, George.
exec for big orgs going to conferences. I think
he
that's
doesn't
cool.
go here anymore, so might as well not name his name. But
True.
No,
I like that
I'm
kid.
messing.
yeah, good kid.
He was really intimidating in an interview.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
give
'cause
him.
he
I'll
just
give
wants
him
he
that
just
much.
wants the truth.
I'll give him that much.
Did you just say he doesn't go here?
Yeah,
No, he doesn't.
transferred.
No, he transferred.
That's like when you're in middle school and you're like, yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Totally
man.
right.
I know someone.
No
You
way,
don't know him. He goes
no,
to a
she
different
doesn't go
school.
here, though.
He goes to a different school.
Yeah.
It's like my girlfriend from Canada. So I don't have an issue with how much money's going towards the Crimson. I think
one of us.
argue it, Reed.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, stop being a fuck then. Get out of my chat.
Get out of my house.
Fair.
Oh.
He's got
Godfrey
me.
says he can stay.
Heyo. Self
All
five.
right, let's bring it back. I think the campus newspaper's pretty important, and I think ours does a decent job. I think they cover relatively important things. I've seen garbage articles in the Crimson, but I think that has to more so do with them trying to fill up the real estate in their paper.
I mean, I feel when everything with the SGA and Daniel Otto went down, that I feel like people's main source of news was the Crimson. At least I know that was for me.
I feel like it more or less covered it. Yeah, and I felt like when they did, it was more or less unbiased.
Yeah.
They write some articles about Frisbee sometimes, which is pretty cool. I think we've actually got one in the paper right now.
Yeah,
super unbiased opinion about Frisbee.
Yeah.
And you can quote me on that.
And you can quote me on
Damn right.
that. No, what kills me though is no one can talk about Frisbee without prefacing it as like saying that it's not important. Like the article opens up by saying, well, some people think that frisbee is just something you play in gym, and it's like
as a kid.
all right, like. Cool, yeah, some people think that. Do you have to mention it, or can you just start talking about us like we're a real club on campus? Like, please, we've been working so hard.
Hey,
Like-
we
like
got
what you say
we got an
of the-
emoji now. We got a frisbee emoji. That's
Great.
called progress.
And now this podcast just sounds like the Frisbee Club whining.
Our therapy session.
Is that not what
It's
it is?
not
No.
guarantee it.
No.
Yeah, trust us.
Most of our, I don't think anybody other than really the people in this room even know that we're doing this right now.
No.
All right, so next down is my issues with the Big Six. So FITV, FIT College Radio, and the Kaleidoscope get 13. FITV gets 13 grand. College Radio gets $2,000, not 21 grand. $2,000, and Kaleidoscope gets $4 grand.
Almost 5.
I think it's lame that these operating budgets are fixed, just because I just don't see anything that positive coming from these organizations. FITV has some YouTube videos getting posted, but they've got like the talent show up right now, and that took forever for them to get their talent show videos posted. I don't know what they're spending their money on, but I can't imagine that it takes 13 grand to like spend 3 months getting the talent show.
4 months.
4 months getting Reed's awesome
They had
performance in the
to throw
talent show
the words
posted.
Yeah, they had to put the words.
They
also
did,
the
and it was
basic
okay, but they also
FITV
misspelled some
videos.
words. And I know it sounds like I'm shitting on FITV right now, but it's because I am.
Almost. Maybe.
They do the thing. They send out.
What else do they do?
They send out emails asking students what TV movies they want. Like they
Say-
started at Halloween. They for every day they had like on their channel. If you're on campus, it had a movie playing.
FITV runs the TV station on campus, right?
That doesn't play. They play like movies once
Yeah,
in a while.
that actually goes
Right,
through
like they
TVs.
played Halloween movies, Christmas movies.
But how important is that when everybody already has Netflix?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been on their TV channel. I think I've been on once, and it was like, how to get used to your college life 101.
I mean, 3 of us live off campus, so
It's also true.
I mean,
And I've never lived on campus, to be fair.
true. And when I did live on campus, I wasn't watching it either.
I
so.
can't say I can't say I've ever specifically tuned into FITV just to watch it.
It's just I don't
I
see
think the people that watch TV watch TV,
Not FIT.
not FITV.
fair. So I wouldn't see an issue if they got normal club status and had to request money like everybody else based on need, and they didn't just have this fixed operating budget.
I mean, they're already started up. The most expensive thing that they're gonna need is their recording equipment.
Is what I
and
would
they've
think.
already I'm making assumptions here, but they've already been a Big Six organization for however many years, and they've gotten that regimented funding.
And granted,
So
this
they're
is
gonna-
coming from a group of people who are in the dark. The reason we don't have anything positive to say is we're not seeing anything positive
Right.
come out of the organization. I don't know what they're spending their money on, but whatever it is, isn't producing anything that I think the campus is finding significant. Unlike, I would argue, the Crimson, which is known about.
Yeah.
And you can argue that maybe their paper could be better, but it's out there and it's getting seen. Then college radio. So for those of you that don't know, WFIT is not Florida Tech College Radio. Our college radio is an internet radio station that I don't know of anyone who's ever. No, I can't say anyone who's ever listened to it,
I've
but
never even heard it.
I've never heard anybody talk about listening to it.
Do they operate through WFIT, like the channel, or do they get their own radio?
Radio.fit.edu.
That's
It's
yeah,
online.
it's an online
I
radio
know.
station.
Okay, then I know about them a little. They do sports games through it.
Do they?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool.
But
Alright, well, I
and-
just loaded it up, and the first thing I see on here is Homecoming Dance 2014.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, nice.
So,
So they're current.
yeah.
Yeah.
Real-
They don't even deserve a. I don't think they deserve a budget.
And it's a pretty small fraction of the total money. It's only $2 grand.
Still $2 grand that could be going to somewhere.
But
0
it's-
listeners right now.
It's just
Saying.
I don't even know enough. I wonder, is there even enough people? Are there even enough people in this club for them to maintain organization status? Are there 10 people on college radio? Because I would feel like if there was, they'd be producing something that the campus would know about. So I'm skeptical there. I'd love for somebody to tell me I'm wrong, because that would be. I'd love to be wrong in this instance about things that I don't like. this is ultimately going to get posted on YouTube. So if people are watching, like, talk in the comments. I'm actually interested. I hope I'm wrong.
Want to hear feedback.
So, and then the Kaleidoscope is $5,000. The Kaleidoscope is our art magazine, which I just saw a physical copy for the first time. There's one floating around the second floor of the sub. I've been here for 5 years, never seen a physical copy of this thing. So I don't know how it's getting distributed. So I guess they're paying for printing and designing that. I don't know. It's also online.
How much do they get?
They get $5,000.
Wow.
And I don't know. It seems
It's a lot for.
It seems weird.
Something I haven't
Yeah. And like, there's some decent student art in there. Like Reed's got a poem. I've seen poems in there from other people. Some of the art is okay. I just and I'll talk a little. There's a segue after this about Big Six itself, which is almost a conversation for a different time. We're talking about the SAFC fee right here. But the other thing about Big Six organizations is they sit on the student act. Brain fart. Sorry, guys. Not the time to brain fart. They sit on the SAFC committee and are voting members in determining which club's funding requests get approved. And so that right is given to these organizations. And it seems weird to me if that right is being given to organizations who aren't producing significant content for the campus. Like if I go up to someone on campus and say like, "Hey, did you see the Kaleidoscope?" No, is what they're probably gonna say. Well, hey, did you know that they have a vote in deciding where the money for clubs goes? Like that just seems weird to me, and it's frankly kind of frustrating. But I don't want to get into how things are run. I want to talk about where the money's going more. So, yeah, Reed.
Isn't it also kind of weird that the people that have set money at the beginning pick where the money goes?
I'm interested in having that conversation with lots of people on different. I have a lot of fish to fry. And the fish I'm frying tonight is how the money's being divvied out.
Not to shit on the FIT college radio, but the programming schedule for 2018 is blank from February until all year. Oh, wait.
Maybe they're out of money.
Yeah, it's blank all year.
And so, and that's my question. So, like are there even people in college radio, more than just a couple people?
They are playing.
If they have they're not producing any content that I can tell, and if they have less than 10 people, how are they even meeting the standards of being a club on campus? Is it just because they have this Big Six status?
What's your definition of what would make a club a Big Six club?
They have a permanent operating budget, and the reasoning behind that is these clubs that were identified as 6 integral clubs to a college experience. So you've got your SGA, your Campus Activities Board, and then media outlets. But the only media outlet that's producing anything significant right now, in my opinion, is the Crimson. Mm-hmm. I don't think FITV, College Radio, or the Kaleidoscope are doing anything significant.
Yeah, I don't think the Kaleidoscope should
objectively
be. I don't have anything against the Kaleidoscope, but I don't think they should be a Big Six. They should be their own club that requests money for the only time they need to print stuff.
So do you think there should be any Big Six clubs that get permanent funding every year? Or should all 6 of those clubs be put into the pool with all of them?
I see no issue with SGA, CAB, and the Crimson having their own set budget. I don't personally, and I want to dig more into other things about where the money's going. Mm-hmm. But my quick and dirty opinion on the Big Six is I don't think they should have any. I don't think there should be a Big Six. I think it should be a Big Three. With permanent operating budgets, and I don't think those Big Three should have any special power in deciding where SAFC money goes. But I don't want to super get into that conversation today.
Okay.
So what happens if they don't use all of their operating budget?
I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. This is a good question.
So you might go back to SAFC or no?
But that'll be too late.
I don't know. Maybe.
Won't it be too late?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the only way funding requests and
Sure.
by a certain date, and the money relapses after the after the end of the spring semester. So if they don't use that money by the end of the spring semester, then what is it going into the next summer for?
But I feel like I don't know how productive this is because I feel like this is just speculation. You know, like
yeah.
we don't have any concrete information on that.
Right.
I'm sure it's available if we talk to the right people, but at this time we don't. All right. So the next thing is $89,000 or 13% of the Office of Student Life's budget, which goes to the trip series. So like the trips to Universal and Disney. George, you don't like that?
That's only limited.
You talk about why you don't like that, because I don't want to talk about why I don't like that. Somebody else talk.
It's limited. Like I've done it once, but it's limited to only an X amount of spots. So why make the entire students pay for X amount of students to be able to do something?
So why? Yeah, that's
Okay. Yeah.
so like I've never tried myself. Like I went to Disney as a kid. Like the weekends that the trips are never available weekends for me. Like how hard is it to get a spot on the bus? In your experience,
They not that very hard.
No. It's not hard.
So then an issue with the limited spaces then actually.
I think so because, if I chose not to go, I don't know. What if it comes to a time where there are just the limited spots and there's people who want to go? Why exclude them if they're paying for it partly?
But then if spots aren't so limited that people aren't going.
Like the one time I went, the bus filled up. Like I got the second to last spot, and then they had to tell people no. Like the other time I checked in on it, they said we still have spots, and they were sending out emails like, oh, today's your last day to get. There's still a couple tickets available, but there are times where the spots do fill up.
I definitely that is dependent on weekend and whatnot. But I went last year sometime, and the bus was full after the second day, I believe. I signed up first day.
Yeah, it all depends on what time and what the deal is too. But
So I signed up at 10 o'clock. It opened up at 9, and I was the 7th one on the list or something like that.
And I guess it's just inherently weird that the campus as a whole is paying for you to get a discount
on the thing that's limited to
the thing that's limited to some people.
I don't think that's right.
And if the bus isn't getting filled up, then isn't the issue that we're paying for something that not enough people want? I don't know. It's just it inherently feels like a very weird thing, and I don't see why the campus should be paying for people to take trips as individuals to a theme park. This is for an individual gain more than a campus game. This isn't helping a club throw an event or sending members to conference so they can go and learn something and help their community, or helping a club sport go to a game. I don't know. It feels really weird, but not nearly as weird as the next talking point, which is the spring break cruise.
That's stupid. How much?
It's $47,000.
That's ridiculous.
6.9% of.
Do you want to explain what the cruise is though?
So in all fairness,
the
cruise isn't happening this year. This data is based on the aggregation of where the money's gone in the past 3 years, which is also kind of weird. The spring break cruise is dead for now, and I hope it stays dead.
Do we know why it's dead this year?
I think
probably
it's
not enough interest or something.
I don't know. I'm not sure why. The thing that was always awful about it is you have to be 21 or older to go on the cruise.
Yeah, exactly.
So the entire campus is paying not for people to go on a cruise, to subsidize the money, because it's still $600 or so from what I remembered when I was looking into it when I was 20 and I was too young, which was lame. So it just feels really weird that all the students are funding a limited vacation that's not open to everyone based on age alone. It's just, I don't know. I guess you could make the argument that it's kind of similar to Grad Bash, but because that's for graduated students, but
they deserve, they earned it.
But the graduation is something that all students
you're gonna eventually
will go through, and also the event's open to campus anyway. I've seen tons of people who haven't graduated get the free food there.
And it's the same thing like the trip series. You're still paying money for to go on the cruise.
And it also just, I don't know, it feels like it's an individual thing. An event on campus if the money's going to an event on campus or like homecoming, it's open to everybody. Like everybody can go partake as a community. But like these are like individuals going and having a vacation on their own. Like yeah, they're hanging out with a group of their friends, but they're not like there's no group on the campus that's getting this money to be helped. I don't know. It seems really
$45,000.
Yeah,
It's just a ridiculous amount of money like that.
like if you drop that money into the SAFC budget, like you potentially fix the problem that is the budget will run out before the end of the year.
What would your opinion be that, let's say you have a club of this, let's say 20 students that you want to take your club and go to Disney for the day, and so the what was it, trips and what would you say it was? Trip series fund would still go to that idea of it being a trip, but it would be a request, not the schools putting it on and hoping people sign up.
See, it'd be cool if it was a request, because you know what? If a club requested that, it would get denied. No club could come up and be hey, we like to go to Disney Club, and we're going to request money to take all of our club and go to Disney.
No, I mean
that wouldn't fly.
Instead of the trip series money being instead of that whole idea being gone, have it so that clubs would say, we have a group of kids that want to go to, so that they're not under, so the buses all get filled, or they know how many kids want to go, so then they can get the deal on it still. So it's still that sort of school, we're near Disney World, it's still that school, what would you call it?
Well, that's the thing too, is it feels like Trip Series is a PR stunt. Like, the campus gets to say, we have trips to Disney for our students. Even though, we don't realize that we're paying for these students to go, behind the scenes, and, people don't really realize that. It's good for admissions, I feel like. Because, you can tell people from out of state and people from around the world, hey, we have trips that are discounted to go. And it's they're not discounted, you're just getting paid by other students who their weekend wasn't available to go. Or,
I agree with you.
It seems weird. And like I said, if there was a club that requested money to just take their club to Disney, it wouldn't get approved by the SAFC. So why is it being considered a legitimate thing here? If a club was hey, if Frisbee Club was hey, you guys want to go on a cruise for spring break?
Right.
Let's request money for that. No.
Yeah.
It would not work. If we were the Caribbean Student Association, we were yeah, we want to celebrate our culture and go on a cruise and visit the Caribbean. It wouldn't fly. There's no skew you could put on that where these things would ever be accepted. I just think they'd go towards more productive things if it was all going to SAFC. The majority of my argument where I think money that shouldn't be going anywhere, I would pump it straight back into SAFC. I think giving clubs more money to do more cool things with makes the campus better.
I guess that half goes along with, so it makes it so that clubs are using the money instead of random people that, not random people, but students that are paying for it, but it's leeching off of. I understand.
So, but then on the other token,
there's also the argument of need. Do we need a spring break cruise? Do we need Disney trips? Or do clubs need?
I think we need the Disney trips. I agree with the Disney trips. For students who can't get off campus on the weekend, is kind of their thing to a thing for them to do.
But is it my responsibility as someone who goes to school with you to help pay for you to go to Disney?
No.
But then you're saying is it my responsibility if I am not a part of the Frisbee Club of giving different clubs money if I'm not a part of a club?
But you can join any club if you want, and they're in there.
And you can do any.
Actually, not any club, but just about every club is open and doesn't have a cap on their membership. So there's no barrier. Whereas if there's actually a limited number of seats on the bus, that's kind of messed up.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I feel like the way that money's being distributed to clubs, it's going towards equal opportunity events. Gotcha. Which is where I think
And-
money coming from the masses should go towards things that anybody in the masses can participate in.
And the school does now, in order to get funding, you have to have events that are open to the campus, and you have to fundraise
How
to get
strict
funding.
is that? For
If
all
yeah,
of them?
if from from SAFC's perspective for a club, if you're holding a closed event, you have to have proof that you are holding open events for campus
Right.
on campus.
Okay.
All right, so
I agree.
anything left on trip series or spring break before we move on?
I don't know. Maybe the solution is just that they have to make a system so that for the trip series that there's no cap. That like I know.
And granted, like I don't know if they're having trouble filling the bus. I've heard horror stories of people having to line up like really early and like not being able to get on. But like I have no personal experience in this matter.
Yeah, I've signed up for 2 of the trip series before, and they're kind of. One of them was to Universal and the other was Disney, and I want to say that I went within like the same day as the event was announced on like the campus email, and there wasn't a line, but it's definitely kind of pretty selective. So maybe I feel like if there's some kind of system that they can actually go about opening it up so that it's not just limited to like for those 2 trips it's been like the amount of people that can fit on 2 buses.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe that's the solution. But
Maybe they send out a poll like,
Yeah.
would you be more available to go in weekends in February, March, April, and then offer more seats on the weekends in April or something like that?
I guess the other thing that is kind of cool is, now that I think about this, is if you don't have a car, this helps you get there.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
for me, it's not an issue because I've had a vehicle this whole.
You can go to Disney whenever you
I could
want.
make Disney
you can
happen
do
if I had
whatever.
the money.
Yeah, exactly.
But
But like for
this
someone who
is
like, I
helping
didn't
your
have a
fellow
car-
student who doesn't have a car.
I didn't have a car my freshman year, and Disney was like the place for me to get like off campus, have a good weekend that's not stuck in my dorm room.
Right.
That's fair.
Like to be fair, there is the beach and everything that you can go to, but like Disney's cool as hell. Like
Yeah.
I'm not huge on it, but I can see the argument. And like also like coming up from a Floridian's perspective, where like Disney's kind of old hat. But I can feel the other.
and
one.
Disney's not restricted like compared to the cruise. Disney's not restricted to age.
It's not age restricted.
It's
that's true.
just whoever can get there first gets there first.
And also, to be fair, what they're doing this year instead of the cruise is they're doing the staycation, which is a bunch of events that are
I think that's a great
more or less free, open to anyone on campus who's staying on campus for spring break.
And that's using that.
thing. And for
And that's I think on my understanding is it's using the money that would have gone towards the cruise.
and I'm fine with that.
I think that's
That's
great.
not restricted because there's international students who aren't going to go home for spring break.
There's non-international aren't going to go home.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
There's a bunch of people
you're
who get.
stuck on campus for a week. Why not?
There's plenty of
I
people
think
who
it's
stay on
great.
campus.
And the expensive, super expensive things like the indoor skydiving or the Sky Zone one, I believe, cost money with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's a great thing.
You can only watch Netflix for so many hours of
Yeah,
your spring
exactly.
Bet.
break. I mean,
I think it's a great alternative. So wait, how long has it been, George? You don't have to make secret hand signs.
We
at the end of
have
it.
5.5 minutes before we hit an hour.
Are you
Damn.
serious? We've been
Wow.
talking that long?
Yeah.
time
Wow.
flies when you're debating
That
topics.
flies. Okay. All right, we're gonna try and be a little bit quicker moving
Yeah.
through topics then.
Yeah.
This might go to an hour and a half. Initial plan was an hour, but we'll see what happens. Interesting.
We-
All right.
We kind of hit the point on the head about the trip series.
Yeah.
So.
I think we've covered
But
it.
I mean, to be fair, it is such a big thing.
It is.
So, the next line item is, man, I'm cool that it's nice that I've cooled off about this because when I first saw this, I was so colossally pissed off.
about what?
$42,000 goes to Greek life, and I can't even
I can't
begin
think of a
to
reason
understand it. I don't know. There's not an explanation out here right why this works. Let me preface this with I don't have anything against Greek life.
I mean,
I'm not Greek. I so like that like let that bias be what it is. I just don't understand why they would get money from campus.
Especially if they're charging for.
They have membership dues. If the money they're getting from this fund is to host open campus events,
I know that
I don't have an
some
issue
of them
with
get funded for like socials or something like that.
but like I don't know of Greek Life holding open campus events unless you count their parties.
Or their Rush Week events. I wonder if that gets funded by it.
But that's lame because that's self-serving. Like
Rush Week events are usually, as what I've seen is it might be like a barbecue one day, and then they do an event in Clemente another day, and like they'll have like a couple things at whatever like their houses, wherever their houses are, but it's not like they're doing a big week for Rush Week or anything or recruiting.
I was told, and I don't have the facts on this, that part of Greek Life's ability to pull out of this pool is based upon their attendance at varsity sports games. And so like I don't have like hard facts to say that this is the situation, but that was the justification I was given.
They get the money. If they
Is that this is essentially the way that the student body is paying for artificial school spirit. We're paying the Greeks to go to our sports games, so it seems like we give a shit about our athletics.
That is ridiculous.
Rather than pay for artificial school spirit, why don't we just put the money into something that fucking makes us have spirit for our school? Like, that's so alien to me. It's so bass backwards. Like,
that is so ridiculous.
I don't. And granted, like, I wish I didn't have to keep prefacing the fact that I don't have hard facts about everything. And feel free to correct me on any of this, because what I really care about is the truth at the end of the day. Like, the whole point of this conversation is to try and get facts out there and start a conversation so we all have a better idea as to what's going on, so we all can get what we want at the end of the day.
Yeah, I want you to be wrong on that, because if you're right, I'm gonna be.
You're be fucking pissed, right? What the fuck is that?
Oh my
The other
God.
thing that kills me is for Greek Life to get money out of a public fund. Greek Life is not they're not open organizations. They're completely selected.
They can choose who they want.
If I want to go and join, I don't want to use Frisbee as an example because I feel like I'm lame if I only say Frisbee. Soundbangers, new club that came up on campus. They play instruments and stuff. Like, shout out to you guys. You get free sponsorship. If I want to go join Soundbangers, I say, hi, I'd like to be part of your club. And they say, okay, welcome, you're in our club. If I say to a Greek, to a fraternity, like, hi, I'd like to be part of your fraternity. I think this would be cool. They can tell me no.
And
They
you
can
have to
just straight up tell me no.
You have to go through the whole rush process.
I don't have an
and
issue with
you have to
the
pay
rush
them.
process because I don't see that as different than like somebody having to go to rugby practice in order to play in a rugby game.
Think about it.
Or
They're also charging
club
their
baseball
members
practice.
$1,000-ish a year to be a part of the.
And I don't have an issue with their membership fees. Like if that's how they want to, if that's how they have to do dues, that's fine.
If the people
But
are willing
also,
to pay
yeah.
to be a part of that, like if we
But the issue to me is that they're pulling from campus money, but they can still tell me that I can't even be a part of the organization that uses the money.
Even though as a student, I'm paying for their club. If they're
In
taking money out of
considered or whatever fundraising they do for themselves.
or even just like donors from
Like-
from past.